If you're tired of juggling 17 different apps just to manage your daily tasks and your calendar, there may be a tool for you. Or maybe there isn't. Either way, Akiflow is the tool that we're discussing today because it's like a unified command center that you may have been waiting for. But does it actually live up to the hype of being an all-in-one productivity platform? That's the question. And I spent a little bit of time putting Akiflow through its paces. And I'm here to tell you today what it delivers on, but also where it falls short. Akiflow is a unified productivity and task management platform, and it's created by Akiflow. It positions itself as an operating system for creators, entrepreneurs, and knowledge workers who want to centralize all of their work across multiple platforms. The whole point here is that you don't want to be going between a whole bunch of different things. So Akiflow pulls everything into a single place where you can manage, prioritize, and execute all of your work. So it integrates a bunch of apps. And the platform itself was designed specifically for people who are overwhelmed by the app overload. And they're looking for one place that brings sanity to their workflow. Welcome to GBRLIFE Reviews, where I test the tools, platforms, and, well, all of those things that you don't really want to. Today, we're looking at another productivity tool that we're using behind the scenes because it claims to have one thing that the rest don't: flow. So let's get started with what I like, what I don't like, pricing, and then if it's all even worth it. Plus, we'll get into the GBRLIFE rating at the end. Want to get straight to it? We'll use the chapters below to find what you're looking for. Now, into what I like. I love that the first thing that you see is exactly what you're looking for: your calendar, your events, your tasks, and it's not cluttered. I also love that there's an option for focus time, and you have integrations immediately, well, kind of built in the second that you get in. So before I even got into Akiflow, it asked me what I wanted to integrate, but I can add more. I do have some syncing issues over here, but you can see right here where I can add in all of these different tools. Plus, you can search for more if you're looking for more. And you can also see this is a pretty clean, smooth UI system. I mean, where is it really going wrong on making it feel cluttered? It's not. Because if I go back over to Akiflow itself, you can see that everything is in its own little space. And if I want a different type of view, schedule something on a calendar, or anything I'm looking for, really, it's both right in front of me and not in my face all at the same time. I don't know how they accomplish this, but this is one of the first times I'm really looking at something and going, oh, okay, this is really nice. Because I can click down here and look at my week. Because I can click over here and click on a different day. Because I can go to my inbox and determine what needs to be added or add my personal inbox. You know, the calendar, but also your Gmail or other tools that you may be using for your email. Plus, you can look at what is upcoming. You can also add what you're looking for into the next week, the next month, maybe even someday. Then you have your different ways of looking at that view. You have your days, you have your weeks, the way we started, and then you also have your months. So you can schedule out pretty much as far as you kind of want to. And then when you go into an actual item or task, you can also determine from there if you need to add in a description, but also add in a link. And then you also have the opportunity to add it to a project. Wondering where the projects are? Well, that's right off to your side. If I click this right here, you'll see right off to the side, there's your projects. You can quickly create a project or a folder for that project. And then you have the opportunity to just look at all of your tasks. So if you're sitting here thinking, I don't want to see it by day, I don't want to see it by week, I just want to see everything I have on my plate. Well, you can look at that. You can also make this bigger, make this shorter, and make it into what you're looking for. You can also add in your teams. So you can share your availability, but you can also meet with certain people and you can pin your team members. So this is a tool that works with other people, not just yourself, but it also works with just yourself if that's what you're looking for. Plus, you can add from your command bar. This is really awesome, getting into something else that they offer that I didn't really go over. They offer the ability to do all of this on mobile or on your desktop. It's your choice. How does this work for you? But it's also because it keeps you unified on the go. I love that because you can use this, update all of these things, have your mobile app and continue to do exactly what you're doing right through your phone. It mirrors all of this. Plus, if you have the desktop app or the website that I'm using right now, you can use command features or command tools in order to make this even more, I don't want to say AI friendly, but accessible. Now, speaking of AI, there is another option here. You can chat with. This means that if you're looking to do something or you don't know how, don't go looking for it. Just ask AI. It's that simple. And it's one of my favorite parts, even though it's on beta, that I don't have to go searching for the know-how because it's right here in front of me. So with all of this being so great, where is it falling short? Well, I'll tell you right now. It is actually a steeper learning curve. For me to add in all these tasks, it was very easy, but I didn't know exactly where to go to add in my inbox or connect my personal calendar to make it actually work. It was kind of confusing what was upcoming. And then you have this awesome tool with the planner. It does your daily planning and helps you kind of create a ritual. But in that too, it was like, okay, what did you do yesterday so you can kind of get an idea about it? Okay. But then if I go into today, I kind of can't. I have to wait for that to be a little bit later. And some of the things that they were offering and showing that you can actually do here, I'm sure you can. I just can't seem to figure out where to go to do it. The good news is, like I mentioned, you can go here, and it was offered many times. It would show up on my screen like, hey, do you know how to do this? Just go over here and ask. Or it would come up with an actual learning option if I wanted to do it that way as well, like watch a video really quickly. But not all of us have that time. So I don't love the learning curve where you have to kind of stop for a second to figure out how to do something. It is pretty easy to understand the basics. It's just more of those cool tools that they were offering in the beginning. But I do think that the more you use it, the more likely you are to figure it out. And then some of the other integrations feel like a middle layer instead of like it's native to the tool. So if you're using Asana, you can add it to here. I believe that was one of the options, yes. But it's not going to come into all of this like it's just easily going in and making it work really well, right? No, instead, it's actually going to kind of add on top, and then you have to go through and make it work for you. I don't love that. Going into like the integrations and stuff, that's where you're going to kind of find out where some of your other appearance things are. I mean, you could go into just settings and whatnot, but it wasn't right in front of you and you can't just update it like really quickly up here or over there or anything. And I don't really love that either. The interface is very clean and it is minimal, but in some ways it's almost too minimal because I don't know where to go always to find the option to make it really work for me and make it look the way I'm looking for it to work. Plus, even though there is a desktop app, there is no true offline mode. I mean, it is going to kind of be pulling across everything because it needs to sync. So right here, if this isn't working, you may not see it in your other tools, and it always kind of needs to find a way online so that you can see it through the other tool. That's not the end of the world. Most of the time we're online in some capacity, and there's always a way to kind of push things over. But that was a little bit of a, I don't love that. And then the other thing is when it comes down to the automation, it's pretty basic here. There's no real automation. You do have your AI options. You do have support. You do have a meeting assistant. So you can do meetings through here, and I believe it's using Teams. If you go through over here, there is the Teams option. Where is it? Right here. Plus a few other options if you're using some of these other tools. But there is no real way to automate something to kind of say like, hey, go through here and then just make it automatically work unless you connect directly to Zapier. So it has an integration option, but no built-in automation, which brings us into whether or not all of this is worth the cost. But really quickly, before I go into cost, remember, you can add in a task right there. It shows up. You can move it exactly as you want to. You can also schedule the time frame. Right here is how long, the time and day. You can make this a repeating task. You can also lock it into the calendar. You can make it a deadline. You can also set it as a priority. So this works as a true calendar system. All right, now let's get into pricing to see whether or not this is actually worth it. Here we have the pricing. So Akiflow offers basically one price, but it's offered in two different ways. And right now, today, they have a 20% off the yearly plan. So you can do a 7-day trial to determine if you like it and basically get most of the things you're looking for. As I said, there's really no difference between the two, but there is that cost. So you're looking at monthly for $34 or yearly. Right now, it's $15.20, or you can get it for $19 typically, and using that 7-day trial in order to determine if it's something that you actually really like. The only difference is that you may have to pay a little bit more when you start going into things like teams. So you'll have to get in touch with them to determine if you have everything you need based off of this for your team, and you can get discounts if you happen to be a student. Always go for this if you are a student or a teacher. You always get the better costs, and you usually get all of the bells and whistles. Which brings us into the next big question. Is it worth it? Well, it does have a strong value for anyone currently bouncing between 5 or 6 productivity apps, because you can consolidate it, just not perfectly, but you can consolidate technically. And if you're a freelancer or a solopreneur, or you have the mental clarity of having everything, or really you need the mental clarity of having everything in one well-designed, very easy, tangible location, this may be it. But you do need to ask yourself the question, how much is actually unified and efficient and really beautiful in its workflow for you? What does that answer actually look like to justify the type of investment of $34 or a month, or going into the yearly that you're spending almost $200 a year? But if you are happy with your own current setup, or you need a seriously heavy team in all of the things that you're doing, the team may be costly because they didn't even put the actual pricing for that. So in my opinion, I would say that this is for somebody who's a solo creator, freelancer, or, anybody who's really looking for that ability to juggle a whole bunch in one spot. And you are already living across Gmail, Google Calendar, Slack, and a task manager. But I wouldn't say that this is for somebody who is in a big team. And I wouldn't say that this is for anybody who absolutely loves their current setup. Don't go for a productivity tool like this. It's great, but it's not that great. It's good. That's more like it, which brings us into the GBRLIFE rating. Because I said it's good, and that is the very reason I'm giving the GBRLIFE rating of a 3.5 out of 5. Because at its core, it is unified. It is pretty good. You do have all those other business tools and integration options that will let you work with it quite well. So you're looking at some pretty good bells and whistles, at least to keep you on task, like focus time and a lack of clutter, plus, again, that integration. But I had to remove a full point due to the learning curve, limited collaboration, and a narrow ideal of your user profile. And then I had to remove a half a point because I think you're going to find more rough edges because it's still one of the newer tools out there. But if you happen to fit the profile perfectly for what they're looking for, that niche down person, I think that a lot of people in those situations are actually going to rate this extremely high. But I don't think it's for everybody. And that's why I'm sticking to a 3.5 out of 5. Now, I want to know what you think. Have you used Akiflow before? Are you using Notion or Asana or ClickUp instead? Or just pen and paper? Me, I love pen and paper. But I use tools like this too, but I can't seem to get away from it. Either way, drop that in the comments below about what you're using. Because productivity tools don't work for everybody, but the ones that do work often work great for many others. In other words, share the wealth. But that's it for this week's review. Stay tuned also, because next week we're going into AI agents. I promise I'll go much slower on those. And because it's here to stay, well, really grow. And you need to get into it now in order to keep up with all that's going on, especially when it comes to agents. And if you want more, remember, you can check out the companion blog over at GBRLIFE.com. It's linked below. And if you want another tool right now, check out the GBRLIFE Reviews playlist, where you can find more like my last review on Omnisend. Email marketing. It's a great way to get off social media, or at least try not to rely on it so much. Well, maybe. And maybe it's the next tool for you, but maybe it's also not. But you'll find that out when you watch that one next. And remember, with everything on GBRLIFE.com and my fabulous Mama Koala clothing brand, you don't have to be without GBRLIFE in your life. Now go check out the next review, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!
Not your bit less, logging through the motherhood maze with GBR Life. Stay